All right, so we're going to segue now into our panel session. So we should see everybody's screens up, and actually, we're going to kick off this afternoon with a question for Claire. So, Claire, from your perspective, how has using technology strengthened your brokerage and your operation?
Well, Loft and Xero together, like Dina and Tracy both said, is just completely made life so much easier. So in terms of strengthened, it's given me a lot more time back. I've worked with a couple other systems, and Loft is about the easiest system you could learn. And I have an office manager that helps me, and I taught her in 20 minutes by Zoom how to use it. So I don't know, it makes it fun paying out commissions.
I can imagine paying out commissions is both fun and torturous at the same time, but it's good to hear that technology has helped support that process as we sit in the current state that we are today. So I think this is a broader question for everybody on here. But how have you all seen where the use of technology helps to mitigate some of the risks associated with large, let's say, global pandemic type of situations that we may find ourselves in today? How have you seen, both from the brokerage side, from the accounting side, and also Tracy from your side, how we've started mitigating risk with the leveraging of technology?
Yeah, I'll go first, David. Thank you. So, brokerages like Claire's and other brokerages that are using the Loft Xero technology sort of suite, and then have, as Dina mentioned, added on a payment solution that's already integrated with Xero, and through that with Loft. These are folks that were able to just simply pay their agents remotely and not have these big hassles of people being scared to come into offices and see each other, because they didn't have to see each other. They can use the Zoom meetings to take the place of some of that socializing and just get those deals paid remotely right away.
Yeah, and just to add, some of the clients I work with, I've seen it, real life. They had no problem transitioning some of their assistants, bookkeepers, to work from home. We've had people, you train someone, they've been there for years. Well, they're moving now. We have someone, they kept them. They live in a different state. They are still their bookkeeper. They didn't have to train someone new, lose that time, do it themselves. With this system, you don't have to be sitting next to the person to do any of it.
No, I do everything remote. I don't need to be in the office. Like, I can do all this stuff from home and streamline all my process with my office manager, and just added the bill payment thing. And actually, that's pretty cool. So I wasn't doing, I was doing another way, and I can see how that's going to help with our processes. So they all work really great together.
Yeah, certainly we've heard, especially as the pandemic was hitting, and we've been sitting in this for a while now, but we've heard repeatedly where the ability to transition into a remote environment was, this is one less thing that people had to really worry about. And it's good to see that ability. So I think the next sort of question, I think topic we can kind of dig into, it'd be great if you guys could share an example of how a company, it might have been your company or another company, really would have taken advantage of other programs that were out there, and actually having this technology ready to go. And Dina, you touched on this a little bit. So it'd be great if you might be able to expand a little bit. But thinking about some of the government programs that were out there to help small businesses and larger businesses as well, thinking about how technology was the direct conduit to be able to help support some of those pieces.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had to compare quarter to quarter for some of the programs. You had to have current financials, previous financials. If you didn't have those, which a lot of companies don't, if you're doing it after the fact, if you're doing it after the year, that's not going to help you. It's not going to help you forecast your income. It's not going to help you make business decisions. It's certainly not going to allow you to be able to take advantage of just getting a regular loan, just needing your financials for anything. It happens all the time. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to get a new office. I need an up-to-date current financial. It's always there for you, as we showed you. It's like I said, as long as you're entering those deals into Loft, your financial statement is done for you.
This is actually probably a plug, maybe a little bit for Dina's company, but Gineris has been wonderful. I mean, I actually turned since they're Xero experts, I actually hired them and they got all my books in order, which made life so much easier for the second round of PPP. They handled it. I didn't even have to really do a thing. I couldn't be more pleased with how my books look. So like you said, when you go to apply for a loan, it's all there. I can get everything now. I don't have to fumble and go into my old system and figure out, and I don't know. Someone asked me for a balance sheet. That's what started it all. Balance sheet? What's a balance sheet? I don't know how to do a balance sheet, but my CPA at Gineris does. So, yeah.
That probably sounds like a pretty common scenario to play out amongst a number of clients. And thank you for sharing those stories. I think, as we think about the times that we're currently sitting in, those are real challenges for folks, especially businesses that were running stuff in separate systems that weren't talking to each other. And I think you can see here that that's a really clear rounding out of how technology can and should be working together along with the professionals. So big shout out to the accounting professionals who are certainly heroes in this day and time for our businesses that are out there. So, okay, we're going to shift topics here a little bit. Love to hear a story how you might have leveraged technology to help stop working harder to worse results and shed some of the stress. Like getting rid of stress, like technology should be there as a conduit to releasing some of that, right? I remember a time when I used to be in practice. So I remember a time when I was, it was a tax season and I remember going on vacation during tax season. And part of the reason why I could was because I had everything at my fingertips. So it'd be great if you guys could share a couple stories of how technology allowed you to release some of that stress, maybe step away, even in the times that we live in today.
You want me to share? I've got lots.
Yeah. Yes, please. We got lots of time.
I mean, as a broker owner, I was the one doing everything, doing all the books and doing all the commission payouts, wearing many hats. And I have to say, Loft has saved me a tremendous amount of time. It's so user friendly. And the fact that it talks to Xero, and now that I have an accountant, it's a whole system. I mean, I don't know. I just added another piece because they wanted me to try something else out. And now I see how I can leverage my time that way. I can honestly say I went to the Caribbean, during all of this, and I did stuff and I could do it because everything's in the cloud. A previous system that I worked with, it was downloaded on my desktop. Like I had to be at my desktop so I was tied to my desktop. Now with a laptop, if I have to, whether it's just approving it, but I've got somebody else paying it out, it can be done. So yeah, you can get some freedom from it.
One story, I can think of one of the clients I work with, they had a bookkeeper and so I worked with her, trained her. We did the transition to Loft and Xero, and she was literally complaining to me that, well, I have too much time now. I don't know what to do now. So, eventually, she talked to the broker owner. She started helping with the advertising. She started doing things that he was doing. She took things off his plate and he was so happy and she was so happy. And aside from saving time, she was catching, like I said, literally catching mistakes. She's like, I don't make mistakes. And then we started using the Loft to Xero and she's like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I had no idea I was doing this sometimes. Now everything is in balance and she knows what to check every day. And with this system, when you learn what to look at every day, you can check mistakes instantly and correct them instantly. But yeah, her time, I mean, it was funny. She was literally complaining that she was done with her bookkeeping duties in 2 hours instead of 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I did a demo on Friday for a brokerage that we sort of just we started laughing halfway through the demo because we were counting how many times she was doing that piece of data entry. And we thought we were pretty funny at 4, but then we realized it was actually 6 at the end of it. And she's just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working so hard. And then she spends extra time auditing everything, because now she's worried that she's entered the wrong information in the spreadsheet versus accounting versus the actual, typing it in the bank, where all of that can just be automated. So, save that time and that headache for sure.
Tracy, I forgot about that. See, I'm so used to it that everything goes into transaction room DocuSign and it comes over to Loft, right? And everything syncs seamlessly. And yes, there's just no duplication of entry. I forgot about that.
Well, I think also, so what comes along with duplicate entries or entering things into multiple systems naturally just comes with mistakes, right? So, can we think of a time when we might have seen a number of those mistakes? Tina, you had a good example of that already. And Tracy, an example of somebody doing something 6 or 8 times with the same piece of data just seems like we're taking the cheese and moving it around. But I think, can you guys give us another example where you might have found mistakes or where this starts to eliminate mistakes in other areas that you've seen so far?
Yeah, I want to bring up, Tracy touched on this a little bit, but the escrow account. I know everybody doesn't hold escrow, but if you do, it's very important to keep accurate records. You can be audited. I've been through 2 of them with clients. In fact, a good story, we had one client who started using Loft and Xero, did not get an accountant's help. They had been using it for probably 2 years. All of a sudden they got an escrow audit. They were not keeping the reports that they need to keep. They came to us, and because they used this system, we were able to go back. It was like 18 months. We had to do 18 months worth of escrow paperwork. And because they used the system, because of the reports available and the tracking available in Loft and Xero, we were able to go back and pull up the reports that were needed from Loft, from Xero, and get them through that audit unharmed. And then moving forward now, we do it on a month-to-month basis. And it literally maybe takes 20 minutes, a half hour to do your bank reconciliation in Xero, pull up the report that's necessary in Loft, and that is all you need. You need 3 pieces of paper, and they are ready if ever asked again for anything. It is a huge, huge time saver and keeps you so organized with your escrow account.
Well, there's also some great thing that I added on, which is in Xero, which is another product. It's not, I don't know if I can say it on here, but HubDoc, right? So that's another cool thing. Now for your accountant, you can put all your statements, all your bank statements, everything that your accountant's going to need, anything that, all in this one place. So again, not having to share files, they have access to it. It's just, to me, I have learned so much in the last year. I wish I had been with Loft and Xero, 5 years ago, because it's definitely made my life better.
So not to hold you to this, Claire, but if you had to give a guess at it, how much time do you think you save in a given month or a given week in your accounting now that you've got some of the technology that you have?
Well, I used a different one that it does integrate, and I just struggled with it. So, and I used another program. So I've used different programs. So you're asking me a question. I have to say, I really wasn't organized in those other programs. So I've saved myself a tremendous amount because I've got it all together now. Like, it's just together. So I don't know. One of the programs I used, the other problem is that they don't necessarily have great support. Loft has great support. if I go on and I need help, there's somebody there who's going to pop up and talk to me, you know, and I can get a transaction closed out quickly, because you got to pay that agent. I can't wait to pay that agent 2 days from now until the other company decides to get back to me because I've gone into their whatever, lost, you know. So I don't know. I think I've saved myself probably 20 hours a week, probably. Yeah.
That's a significant amount for sure.
A lot.
Yeah. Of course, as usual, full disclosure, future performance doesn't necessarily guarantee from prior results or whatever they normally say on TV. No, I'm just kidding. So that's great context for really how you can leverage a lot of technology to be able to support. Did anybody else have any other examples before we move on? Cool. All right.
Oh, you did ask about errors. Okay, so something that I discovered that I share with my process as a user is, you know, I pay everybody by direct deposit, and I do it through the bank. But the problem is if you don't have something integrated, then you have a very high chance of transposing numbers, maybe adding a zero or something if you're plugging it in at the bank. And if you have one of these bill pay systems, it's automatically going to go over from Loft to Xero to it, and then you're not going to have to worry about transposing numbers. And so if you give that to somebody else to do, which is what I've just done, there you go, less error. So
yep, touching it once instead of touching it multiple times like we were talking about before is going to lead to less errors, plus save all the time that you were just mentioning. So yeah, that's a great example. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit here. I want to talk a little bit around how important it really is to work with folks that understand the real estate brokerage market, and thinking about it from the brokerage side and also from the professional side, the accounting professional side. What does it really mean to you to be working with folks that really truly understand the industry?
You're probably asking me more than anything, right, as the user. So it's really important that the people that you work with get it. And that was one of the things that Tracy and I connected, and I'm like, she gets it. She understands how the real estate transaction works and how we have to pay our franchise fees and do our splits, all that stuff. So they get it. And having the ability to change comp plans real easy without jumping through a bunch of hoops. If you make a mistake, how to fix it, like that it shouldn't be that difficult. They get it. And then Xero gets it. And then Gineris gets it because they know real estate accounting. So, you got to work with an accounting firm that actually knows real estate agent. They're our business, whether you're an agent or whether you're a broker. So it's really important.
Yeah, I think that, working with a partner like Gineris has been amazing for Loft, for us as a software partner, to work with an accounting firm that really understands it so deeply. And, for any of our users that come on board and use Xero and they're not familiar with Xero, Gineris has put in a ton of work and created this amazing online training course that is driven and focused specifically for real estate brokerages and their administrators. So, when you're using a software like Xero, it can be used in many different industries, of course. Real estate is just one. But to have a training course that is focused and purpose-built to explain things properly to people running a real estate brokerage and doing real estate bookkeeping has been amazing. So even for us, working with someone that knows the industry has taken our game to the next level. Sash and I and a lot of our other staff, well, pretty much everyone on our staff has real estate, hands-on real estate practical experience. So, it must be very frustrating for someone working with softwares that don't have their industry expertise to re-explain everything over and over again, especially when you have a problem. Well, I'm trying to do this and then that happened and then this is why I'm doing it, right? So we think it's important, and we sure appreciate Gineris and all the hard work they put towards it.
So Dina, from your perspective as a practitioner, how have you seen the benefits from being able to talk the talk with brokerages? And how does that mean those conversations, either good, bad, awesome?
Well, as you can imagine, the brokers that have worked with us or contact us so appreciate the fact that we do know how the real estate business works, how the books should be kept, what's important to them, what needs to be done. I mean, the ones like I talked about with escrow account, but not just that. As we know, the agents want to get paid. That's important to them. They get paid right away, doing their billing, doing their invoicing. I mean, they absolutely appreciate that we understand their whole process. We've sat down with numerous clients. It's like the first thing we do. Tell us what you do. Tell us how you work every day. Tell us your process. Tell us how you're invoicing your agents. Tell us what you want included. And then we use Xero and Loft to work around that system and make it as easy as possible for them.
Excellent.
I will say one thing about Xero. So the other thing is it's really truly an invoicing system. I worked with two other brokerage systems, and they incorporated the invoicing into it, and it had some quirkiness. And I feel like with the invoicing in Xero, setting up your recurring billing and stuff like that, it's more simplified because it truly is an invoicing part, as opposed to like an add-on in some of these other systems.
Excellent. All right. So we're gonna pause for a second. We're gonna actually take some Q&A that we got from some of the folks that are out there. So first question is for Claire. Do the transactions sync with RE/MAX LLC reporting? And this could be for anybody on the call. Also, Tracy, you probably could answer as well.
Well, yeah. So let me share something, because I looked at Loft before, and that was one of my hesitations. So if there's anybody on here that's a RE/MAX owner and your hesitation is because you heard that it doesn't like sync seamlessly or something, it's not a big deal. You download each month your reports that are in there that they have factored in there, and you just upload it into remax.net, and there you go. It's done. It's not difficult. And I think Tracy, you had something probably to add on that maybe, but that's what I've been doing. It's not an issue. It works great.
Yeah, so for LLC, as Claire mentioned, it's a specifically purpose-built report for download and upload into the portal. If it's happens to be iFranchise that you're reporting to, then we built a direct API integration as of last June.
Cool. Excellent. So another question from the group. So do any of the panelists have experience with Lone Wolf / Broker Wolf? If so, how do these programs and integrations compare?
So I'll speak first, and then Claire will give her user point of view. So I worked for Lone Wolf for 12 years, and I worked with large brokerages, enterprise brokerages. Was a great experience, but the product, the company changed a little bit, and then technology moved along, and some aspects of the product for Lone Wolf didn't necessarily keep up with the times. So that, caused some challenges with clients using a bit of a legacy system. So I'll say that. But Claire, from your perspective, you go ahead, because you've got the end user.
Well, let's just talk about right away the learning curve that's needed for Lone Wolf. I worked with Broker Wolf for 4 years. Had it for 4 years. It took me almost 18 months to finally feel comfortable in it. 18 months. And I was the only person in my brokerage that knew how to use it. So if something happened to me, we had a real problem. And it just was clunky. I mean, because it's got some good things, but I think the big thing that people always compare reports. It's just not user friendly. And again, what Tracy said, when I first rolled it out, when I first joined it, the support was good, but they were, I think, bought out and acquired and all kinds of stuff. And that just dropped off. And I couldn't they started to make you feel bad if you called up and you couldn't get an answer on things. So I'd have to say customer service was so bad near the end. And I just it took a long time to do a transaction too. And we had like this antiquated the way we were doing stuff. And it wasn't for me, it wasn't cloud-based. So I also, like I said, that was that program that I was tied to my desktop. I had to, some quirky connection or whatever. So, yeah, and I tried another system and wasted a year on that. So don't waste time, just get Loft. Sorry, I'm just going to say it, right? Yeah.
Well, that definitely that puts the stamp of approval on. So that's perfect. We'd love to hear that sort of thing. So a couple other Q&A questions, and we're going to come back for some of our final topics here. So we have a question from somebody who looks like they're a bookkeeper here, but that they're supporting some brokers. And then Claire, I think you actually said this before, but you were able to actually train one of your bookkeepers to help support you in Zoom in around 20, 30 minutes to help support you. So do you feel like you'd be able, if you were the bookkeeper, would you be able to train a broker in that same time frame, or would you be able to train them how to use Loft relatively simply?
Oh, Loft's so easy. I mean, it's just training someone how to use Loft. It's so intuitive. I mean, it's really user friendly. I mean, there's maybe a couple little things that might be, maybe putting in date of birth is a little opposite the way my brain thinks, but I mean, putting somebody in the system is so simple, and setting up their profile. I mean, Tracy lets me, I guess maybe more people aren't as hands-on as I am, but like I feel comfortable to go in and modify comp plans and things like that. But because I'm one of those people though that I like to know how to do everything so that I can teach somebody else how to do it. But yeah, you can train somebody. I trained Cheryl. She's my office manager. She's not even the bookkeeper. She's the one who handles the compliance, the deals that come through, puts them in Loft. She loves it. She tells me every day how much she loves that I found this program, because she finds it fun. She enjoys that aspect of her work. So I just introduced her to the bill pay thing, and now she thinks that's even more cool. So yeah, we're having fun with it. It's actually fun. So
that's good to hear. Okay, cool. So let's circle back to some more questions for the panel, and we'll be watching the Q&A as we go along here. So this is probably a question for Claire and Dina, if you have some other clients as well that have kind of had some of this experience. And finally, Tracy, if you want to round it out and give us some of your perspective from other partners that you worked with. How does using financial analytics help to support you in making better business decisions?
Oh, using the whole Xero with well, being able to pull up your profit and loss every month and looking at it, and it's all nice and clean. I mean, that's a huge plus. I look at it each month. I look at, and then I don't know. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that I have an accountant. My husband says you're so much happier. So yeah. Yeah. Less stress. It's all less stress.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to always like to say that, folks get into business because they're good at what they do, not necessarily because they're good accountants, but there's always this accounting piece that comes along with every single business that you're in, right? And no matter what, you have to deal with it, right? So, Dina, from your perspective, and we work very closely with Claire, but other customers that you have, other clients that you have that may be having that similar experience, tell us some more stories around having the ability to look at financials in a timely manner and how that's benefited them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you know, just like you said, most people probably didn't even have a financial to look at before, and if they did, it was way after the fact. You know, they're finishing the year, they're getting their books done, you know, March 14th, and then they're looking at how they did last year. Well, you're already 3 months into the new year. So having these books to look at, having offices to compare. I mean, if you had nothing to look at before, you're just making blind decisions, or you're not making decisions. You're just working more and more and more and working harder and harder, but having no idea where you're getting. So, you know, being able, like Claire said, to look at your profit and loss on a monthly basis, to compare offices, to see where you're spending too much money, where you were making more money. And then in the Loft side, I'm sure Tracy will get into, where you can look at each agent and look at how each agent is doing for you. That's something that is huge in your business. You can work smarter, not harder, by utilizing the reports that are available to you with these two systems.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because when brokerages are looking at recruiting and hiring agents and all those things, and not necessarily looking at their comp plans or similar agents and similar comp plans, you want to hire a specific person, and the deal you're going to give them nets you no money, but it takes up a lot of time from your staff because they are a high producer, whatever the case may be. I mean, you have to weigh out, does, you know, having that agent's name attached to my brokerage give me enough benefit that I'm willing to earn no money off that agent? Or do I need to just simply adjust that plan or think about it slightly differently to, you know, determine, is that a good fit for our company? I mean, brokerages have pretty low margins and they have a lot of risk. And it's important that, you know, if you're going to take that risk on and run that business and try to help other entrepreneurs that are agents build their own businesses up, you have got to be rewarded. And if you're not, you better know you're not, and you better know why you're doing what you're doing, right? And the other thing is, you know, to Dina's point and Claire's point about invoicing in a proper invoicing system like Xero, that accounts receivable is very important. So you become the bank all of a sudden. If you're not keeping an eye on how much those folks owe you, you know, you need to be able to balance out how much business has that agent written, how much do they owe me, do they have the ability to pay me, or am I looking at a risky situation where I might not recover that, you know, that money. So I think it's important to, you know, have good tools that are accurate, but also look at them, you know, recognize what's going on in your business, take the time, look at your reporting, and help make those, you know, financial decisions for yourself based on 100% accurate data.
Yeah, I'm sure we can all think of a time where we probably needed a little bit more accurate accounting data. And it always seems to be at the wrong time. But you know, now we have the ability to actually have more real-time accounting information when we need it. And again, awesome to hear Claire's relieving herself of the stress of having to worry about this stuff on a regular basis. So that's pretty cool. And big props to Dina and Gineris for being able to support you through that. So really cool stories here.